Welcome back. And we are here with Ryan Conn, business strategist. He is an expert in all things business strategies. He is the owner of CS Business Strategies. And we were talking a little off camera. And for the viewers, I'm sure you will notice that behind Ryan, there is a suit of armor. Of course, it made me think of Gotham City, Bruce Wayne, because that's the way my brain goes. But I have to ask, what is the symbolism of this suit of armor that you have very much off I think it's your left shoulder as you're sitting?
I appreciate the question. That's something that does have some good symbolism to me. I very much believe again in leadership, and the knights were the leaders in the dark ages. And what they did is people may have their opinions of them, but what if you actually study the code of the knights and the oaths that they take is they would basically sacrifice fortunes if necessary, sacrifice lives if necessary, and they would go serve the people that were protected in their realm. And so they had elite status, elite capability. They sometimes amassed wealth, but they also gave away wealth, gave away lands, kingdoms, and everything to protect the people in their stead. And so kind of like Bruce Wayne protects Gotham City, and I'm a huge Batman fan. It's my number one hero because he is just a man like the rest of us. I believe in using whatever I've acquired in this world, whether it's my leadership skills, my martial arts skills, my law enforcement career, my business career, to try to help those around me. So yeah, Batman, which is just off camera, and then the Knight here on camera are two distinct reminders, and we'll say trinkets for me to look at every day and remind me of some of the purpose that I serve as a leader.
And speaking of purposes, how essential is it that a business owner, let's say a person who is about to create a new business comes to you? How important is it that there is an actual purpose, not just oh, I want to make lots of money, but that they have a defined purpose for their role or business?
I think it drives everything. I think we really get confused in this modern society and how business entrepreneurship really starts up and works. Most people say, well, I'm just not passionate about anything. I'm just not passionate about anything. And I can't figure out what I want to do. And I've tried 3, 4, 5 different business ventures, and they're not recognizing their purpose. Their purpose is to take a skill that they've been blessed with and then use that to benefit other people. And guess what? If you're really good at something and you're serving people and you happen to be making money along the way, I promise you, you will become passionate about that thing. And so I think finding the purpose early on is super important. And, if you can establish the purpose, why I am doing this and what it is for, people can rally around that cause. They can rally around that why. And then you're going to be much more successful in your endeavor.
Okay. And I actually am wholeheartedly believe in that, because if one is without purpose and passionless, you're just like a robot going through the motions. Whereas if you really find something that's within your heart that you want to provide, that is in service to others, you really are going to excel and you're winning. But not only purpose and passion can be a basis for a vital, thriving business. So what are some of the key compliance issues that a small and or medium-sized business often overlook and that they really need to be more mindful of?
I love that question. We really see this overlooked all the time. And one of the basic things you need to do is determine your entity selection. The entity is how you are going to be taxed as a business. So this is one of the things that can cripple you fastest, is that you have set something up improperly. And this goes in tandem with the legal side of things. When you get your operating agreement, when you get your partnership agreement, you're determining how you're going to be paid and who's going to have what roles. You can be active partners, passive partners, who's responsible for what in your work order and your workflow. But then you have the other side of things, is that the tax comes down and you're in a partnership and you decide to buy out your partner one day. Well, you're no longer a partnership anymore. And what do you do now that you're not a partnership? And so you have to also understand that, hey, if certain accounts have been set up, then people are legally allowed to access those accounts and whose controls you're going to give. So we've seen some pretty nasty splits along the years. And because they weren't set up legally before they came to us in the right steps, or they didn't have the right entity selection, they're either paying way too much tax. They're going to have some serious implications when they come time to either offer out a succession plan, to buy somebody out with a stock ownership position. And it's really going to rattle their cages and possibly cost a lot of money.
Well, and I know that this is a lot of people talk about like the business structures in such like LLC versus S-Corp, C-Corp things. And as an attorney, I would say that much, because that is not my expertise, my field of expertise. But when looking at defining the first step is, what kind of company are you going to be? Because as you said, there are tax implications. One of the things I guess my question would be is sometimes you'll have someone who forms an LLC, which is usually for liability issues, things like that, but they'll go for like tax as an S-Corp versus fully forming as an S-Corp or a C-Corp. Can you give a little bit of a definition or differential between those three aspects?
Yes. So one of probably the two most important to really focus on is kind of the S corporation and the C corporation, because both of those are going to be taxed as a corporation. And that involves one of the heaviest taxes that we deal with in life, which is self-employment tax. And so self-employment tax is really expensive because it's 15.3% of the income that gets reported at the end of the year. And that can be taken care of through payroll, or that can be taken care of at the corporate level, or in a partnership, it's taken care of at the partner levels. And so the S corporation is a pass-through entity, which says the corporation, even though it's its own entity in the eyes of the IRS, is not going to be responsible for paying its own tax. If you have gains, that gain is going to be passed down to the partners, and they're going to pay the tax on their own private personal tax return. Same thing with losses. If your company shows a loss and you're going to possibly get a tax refund, that passes down to the individual owners on the K-1 on the personal tax returns. A C corporation, that pays tax at the corporate level, and the company is responsible for it and writes a check. And it usually almost always deals with a certain tier of capital gains based on income. And then the third one is the entity of a partnership. That is the default. So a lot of people don't realize that they're quote unquote in a partnership. They think there's some type of just blanket LLC. An LLC is a legal umbrella term, limited liability company. And then your entity type, partnership, S corporation, C corporation, is a taxable type. So tax versus legal. And so you can be an LLC and a C Corp. You can be an LLC and an S Corp, an LLC and a partnership, or an LLC and a sole proprietor. And so that's the kind of the big difference people don't get. And it completely drives how you're going to pay tax, who's going to pay it, and what opportunities for tax planning you have, because there's definitely different tax planning for a partnership versus a C corporation or an S corporation. And there's a lot of legal steps to legitimize what you can do as that entity type and as your taxable write-offs and deductions and credits.
And thank you. Actually, that was probably the most succinct and straightforward explanation that I've ever received. So I'm sure our audience will be very grateful for that as well. One of the things is, so we, been talking about taxes and setting up and leadership, but also many businesses have regulations, regulatory reporting requirements. I know I do for certain things. So what advice do you have for businesses struggling to keep up with the changing regulations that seem to be more forthcoming, especially since we've seen like post-COVID era in reporting?
So there's definitely no slowing down in extra steps, regulations, taxes, requirements. So just for example, just in this last year, the BOI, the beneficial ownership information, just passed, which means every owner that has a stake in a business must report at the business level all of the ownership information, all of this information that allows them to track down your business, so that we can, for Homeland Security's sake, fight terrorism, shell companies, and things like that. But it's a huge burden. It's not the hardest thing to do, but you have to do it. And the regulations are, I think it's either $200 or $500 a day penalty, up to $20,000. I mean, that could really hit you in the gut, especially if you're a small business and never got the memo. So we want to help people keep on top of that. There's other things like, for example, like we have some commercial drivers and they have these highway like IFTA taxes and these different applications and permits that they have to put in for that require tax information. So they turn to their accountant and they have to see that they're a viable business making income, yada, yada, so that they can then get their permit. Same with construction companies across state lines. So my summary statement is to find an expert that can help you keep up with this, but you have to take accountability for your position as well and go out and be a perpetual student of your industry, learn your industry, get a mentor, get an advisor that can tell you, hey, here's what's coming next. And you probably need a really good attorney, a really good accountant, and a really good insurance person. After that, you should probably get some good IT people, some good bankers, and start building your network so that everybody can keep you informed on what's changing in your world.
Now, Ryan, let me ask you, is there a specific geographic area that you work with, or are you just anybody in the United States who wants to use you because you are so invaluable with the information that you have provided today and clearly an expert in these fields? How would someone come about to being able to employ you or in your business to help them grow their business?
So we work anywhere in the United States. We have, I think, clients in 48. No, we do have Alaska now. So we don't have a Hawaiian client. I guess I'll have to go to Hawaii and start recruiting. But we do everyone in the United States, anywhere. Small and medium-sized businesses are our specialty, or even the brand new entrepreneur that's found their niche and they're growing and they need help. That would be a small business. We would help them. But we're most easily located definitely on the leadership side. Go to the website first. There's csbizcon.com, and that will take you to the leadership side. You can get a booking with me for leadership. We can refer you over to tax or advisory services or that type of consulting. We have a cooperative agreement with Shelton Associates CPA. So the two companies work in unison. They're brother companies. And if you want to go to wsheltoncpa.com or csbizcon.com, or the phone number for both of them is 270-442-6688. Just ask which company you want to talk to and you'll get put in the right direction.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming on the show and providing us with this wealth of information. I am looking forward to the next time you come on, because I'm honestly now going to be looking at my own business strategies to probably time to update some of those. Again, I want to thank you. And for our audience viewers, please reach out to Ryan. His expertise are amazing. We only hit maybe just a smidgen of the iceberg on his expertise. I am Alina, and thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Legal Talk with Alina. I hope to see you the next time when we bring in experts and lawyers to talk about the legal issues and other challenges that may be affecting you. And wishing you all a good day.